Hello, and welcome to the A. Carter Vincent Consortium, where we believe informed dialogue and responsible interaction can lead to the positive resolution of many of our present global issues and concerns. So happy that you have joined us for our new presentation entitled, Church Folk Ain't Gonna Drive Me Crazy. Some of you tried to log on last night for our presentation and were unable to do so because we were experiencing technical difficulties. We apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused you, but if you're viewing the presentation now, that means those difficulties have been cleared up, and I'm so happy that you decided to return and to view our presentation. If you are accessing this presentation from YouTube or another media outlet, we invite you to log on to our website at www.acartervincent.com. That's www.acartervincent.com. Log on to that website and check out some of the other presentations we have on there. We have weekly offerings as well as daily offerings. Also, if you're accessing the presentation from our website, thank you for visiting the site, and we invite you to visit as often as you are able. Again, so happy that you decided to join us for our presentation entitled, Church Folk Ain't Gonna Drive Me Crazy. A reminder that this presentation is divided into two segments of 10 minutes each. We invite you to view the entire presentation at your convenience. Let me present a prayer, or share with us a prayer. It's actually a Byzantine prayer. This prayer was given to me by Sister Nona Harrison. She is one of the professors at St. Paul's School of Theology in Kansas City, Missouri, my alma mater, and where I'm also serving as Director of Community Life. It's entitled a Byzantine prayer. And it reads, serene light shining in the ground of my being, draw me to yourself. Draw me past the snares of the senses, out of the mazes of the mind. Free me from symbols, from words, that I may discover the signified, the word unspoken in the darkness that veils the ground of my being. Amen. Thank you, Sister Nona. Best wishes to you. Church Folk Ain't Gonna Drive Me Crazy, Part 1. And as advertised in this presentation, we'll be dealing with some practices that churches fall into or find themselves engaged in, practices that oftentimes bring death to congregations and communities of faith, churches, etc., bring death rather than life. And it's probably not going to be what you thought it was going to be, because I'm not going to be bashing anyone. That's not my intention. But my intention is to point out some things that perhaps are not working in favor of our faith communities, and maybe explore ways in which we can repackage these things, rework them, and then represent them, or represent them rather, as tools and as resources to be blessings to our congregation. One of the first practices that drives me crazy about church folk, and we get caught up in this as individuals as well as corporate bodies, and that's fear. I mean, have you ever been around a person that's always fearful? That can drive you crazy, because it's like no sooner have you gotten them affirmed in their latest anxiety or area of concern or issue, no sooner have you gotten them affirmed in that, then they come up with something else to be fearful about. Now, I don't say that as bashing the person that is suffering from anxiety or other emotional challenges. I don't mean it in that way. I'm just trying to point out that it's challenging to even minister to persons that are caught up in fear and anxiety. and just keeping it real. Yes, that can get up on your nerves. Now let's talk about churches. Have you ever encountered a person in your church or your community of faith that was scared of everything? And one of the most things, or one of the major things in which fear sets in, or one of the major areas in which fear sets in, as you all know, and that's in the area of change. Have you ever met a church person that didn't want to change anything? Because to them, change symbolized that they were going to lose power, or they were going to lose something dear to them, or somehow they were just going to be losing something if change were to be enacted or to be advanced. That can drive you crazy. You know, I remember in the 10, 11 or so years that I served as a senior pastor for 3 wonderful congregations, and each of those congregations are near and dear to my heart still, and I particularly thank them for being so patient with me, even though I was not as patient with them, because me coming from, you know, a very different area of the country to the Midwest, I was just accustomed to experiencing some things on a regular basis, especially in our church communities, things that, you know, perhaps weren't going on in some of the churches that I was assigned to pastor at the time that I was assigned there. And so many times I would try to advance new ideas, new, you know, ways of doing things, and fear would set in. And sometimes it would be particular people in which the spirit of fear would settle upon, and that spirit would be like a thorn in the flesh, because no sooner were we affirmed and moving ahead in a certain area, then that person or those persons would bring up something as a way to cause fear. Fear concerning moving forward, fear concerning changing, fear concerning doing something different. Let me share with you a story that comes out of a book entitled 10 Dumb Things Churches Do and How to Avoid Them. The author is Philip Weeke, and he has a chapter in here about fear. And it talks about Stockwood Community Church, a middle of the road Protestant church in a town of about 20,000, had an aging membership. And that's like many of our churches, right? Many of our churches been around a long time, been in the same spot for a long time. Might have had a lot of members in the past, have fewer members now, and many of the members that are there are senior citizens, and that's not a slam. That's a blessing that we have that wisdom. That's a blessing we have that resource. But you know, like I know, if there's a family of all senior citizens and they ain't nobody, as my bishop, one of my former bishops used to say, how many people in your church are of childbearing age? Because I remember we make the report, yeah, Bishop took in 30 members this year, blah, 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 blah. And he would say, okay, that's good, Brother Carter, but how many of them were of childbearing age? In other words, how many of them, you know, would be able to bring life to the church as a resource? Amen. In addition to what our seniors are able to bring. So, this is a church predominantly senior citizen. It's an aging church, and it's declining in church population. Now, it says that Reverend Tom was a new 30-something pastor. He had been called to the congregation because the search committee wanted someone who could make the church grow. And you know, sometimes we pastors are prideful and arrogant enough to think that we can make a church grow. And I know we don't really mean it from the heart, but sometimes the way we language it and sometimes the way we present our ideas, it would suggest that we think we can make a church grow. But I think sometimes we are affirmed in that folly, you know, we're affirmed in that incorrect thinking by some of the membership. Because some of the members have that attitude, you know, this person has this kind of gift, or this pastor has this kind of gift, or he or she can preach, or he or she is a good administrator, so they can grow